These numbers are so stupid. Here's what they are. And I just want to run through these really quickly. He's gone to bat. He's at 23 plate appearances. He has 19 official at-bats, so he's been hit by a pitch and walked 3 times. Yep. He's batting .579. His on-base percentage is .652. His slug, listen carefully, his slug, not his OPS, his slug is 1.053. His OPS is 1.705. Just for a point of reference, any slug above any OPS above 900 is elite.
You are one of the best players in the game.
Mm-hmm. His is 1.705. It's nearly double elite. He's got 11 hits. He's got a double. He's got a triple. He's got 2 home runs. He's driven in 9 bases. He's stolen a base, and he struck out 5 times. Bananas. Not that he's going to do that. And this is why I don't, the numbers, it's just, it indicates that he's healthy. I think that's the biggest part. And number 2, it begs the question, as good as he's been, 2 MVPs in the last 3 seasons, is there another level for him to go to that he's only hitting, that he doesn't have to worry about pitching, that he's on a team that has a lot of good players around him, so they're going to have to pitch to him occasionally at least, that he's on a team that's going to score a lot of runs. They might be playing in games where you're getting into middle relievers in the 3rd, 4th, 5th inning. He's not just facing starters. Could this be not only a great year for Shohei, but something truly transcendent and historic?
Yes, it absolutely can, and it's almost likely in that sense, actually, because of what the guys, he's never had it this good. He's never had Mookie in front of him and Freddie behind him and Teoscar Hernandez and Will Smith. And
I don't think anybody has ever had Mookie and Freddie. So sandwich between them.
He had a little bit of protection in Anaheim with Mike Trout when he actually was healthy, but he's never had this before. He's never been able to just be free to do nothing but hit and do it at a very, very high level.
That's the interesting one to me. Is you're asking him now to just do
we just
need you to focus on one thing. You're already great at it, but how much greater can you be if you're just focusing on that on top of everything that you just mentioned?
And you saw the quote from Freddie that he wants him to steal 100 bases. Like, this is so you're moving him forward in another space too, where he can just get out and run too. Like, he's going to be able to move. He's going to do whatever he wants on the base paths. So yes, going to another level, it's very possible, and again, likely.
I'll just say that I think Shohei. There's certain players in sports where they create their own level. The point that I was trying to make about spring training and those numbers that were bonkers up there, if you said, hey, this is what Gavin Lux is doing in spring training, we'd all say, okay, maybe we're picking on Gavin. Chris Taylor's doing this, whatever, right?
Benny Agbayani.
But because it's Shohei, it's like, yeah, well, of course Shohei would do that. Not that he's going to do it in the regular season. It's just that this man is a different – he's in a different world. So to say – can we expect more from Shohei Ohtani? It's why Patrick Mahomes has 3 Super Bowls this early in his career, and people are like, yeah, but that's Patrick Mahomes. It's why when you look at LeBron James and you say the guy's doing it in his 21st year, but then instead of us trying to explain it, all we say is, yeah, but that's LeBron James. That's what Shohei is for baseball. Shohei's created a level for himself where you're not talking about other players. You're just saying, yeah, he can have better numbers and do even more because it's Shohei. So I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe what you said about expectations that you would expect it, I'd lean more towards expect it.
There's 2 cases for it. The baseball case, which we've all been making, that he's going to have protection, and I really do think that they're going to get into the soft spot of people's pitching
so fast.
Early. So instead of having to take 3 at-bats against Zach Gallen, as an example, right, who's a really good pitcher for the Diamondbacks, you're going to play him a million times. He has to take 2, and then he gets the 4th bullpen guy, and then he gets the 5th bullpen guy, and the game's out of hand, and you're going to get some of that. So there's the baseball. There's the only have to worry about one side of the game. He doesn't have to pitch. There's all of that. Then there's the non-baseball part of it, which
Aaron Rodgers, vice president.
I'm getting to. He's one of those guys, and you don't see it very often, that is able to say, "Ooh, this is a big moment. Everybody's watching. Watch this," and elevate just a little bit more because he's got that little thing that people have. Brady has it. Mahomes has it. LeBron,
legends.
Magic.
These are what legends do.
Kobe.
Legends.
Jordan. Tiger. That they're able to go to that, hey, this is a big deal. All right, I'm going to put on a little bit of a show for you all right now. And while we haven't seen him in a lot of those moments just by virtue of being on a bad team for a long time, the few times we have had it, it was extraordinary. He shows up at Home Run Derby. He shows up at the All-Star Game. He shows up on the All-Star Game on the mound, in the batter's box, the World Baseball Classic. Every time there's been a little bit of a chance to kind of puff his chest out, he delivers. And he's going to get a million of those opportunities this season. So put that together with just all the baseball reasons, and he might be one of those guys. It may be a runaway MVP candidate, that a 50 home run, 120 RBI, the team wins 109 games, and he hits 315 and steals 30 bases.
But would that surprise
the numbers
you?
that I just read off? Yeah, because that doesn't happen.
Monstrous.
He hits 50 home runs. That would surprise you?
Yes.
It's like
it's
Barry,
never
it's like
happened
Barry
in the
Bonds
history of the
level.
Dodgers.
Yeah, but it's happened in let's put it this way. If anybody would do it, it would be Shohei. How many home runs did Shohei hit last year?
I did 44, 5, something like that.
Somewhere right around there. I don't remember.
Not that far away from 50.
It's not, but the Dodgers have been in L.A. since the 50s. It's
I get it.
never happened.
I understand it. But this is what I go back to with Shohei. Shohei does things that it shouldn't surprise you. If he hits 50, that shouldn't surprise you.
I mean, if he set a team record for a team that's been around for 120 years, that's surprising.
It is very
Get
surprising.
it. At 44, 45 last year.
44.
Yeah, so he can do it, obviously. But you mentioned something about seeing a guy 3 times, seeing Zach Gallen 3 times. Codify, Codify on Twitter, great site. They put out a stat yesterday.
More of a pitching ninja guy myself, but Codify's good.
They worked with it. I like pitching ninjas too. But they put out a stat yesterday that said that in 2023, only 12.5% of pitchers got through 3 times through the lineup.
Yeah.
So that means that he's going to. He is absolutely not going to see the starting pitcher in the third time. It's just not going to happen. Most of the time in that season, that means you're going to see your 4th, 5th best reliever all the time. His numbers are going to skyrocket.
Okay, so they start a week from today. They have their first game a week from today in Korea against the Padres. I want to break this into 2 things for Shohei going. What's good for him? What's good for the team over a 5-year window? That's coming up next. It's Travis Lee, 710 ESPN. Back to Ohtani very quickly. Over the next 5 years, for Shohei Ohtani individually, put the team success in your back pocket for half a second.
Okay.
For Shohei Ohtani individually over the next 5 years of his career, what does he, and not from a marketing, not from an economic business perspective, from a baseball perspective, the next 5 years, what does he need to hang on his wall to say, yep, we got what we wanted or better?
So you need championships.
That's team stuff.
I'm talking just for him. So yes. He probably needs to get an MVP.
1 over 5 years is good enough for you.
2,
$700 million.
Yeah, as a DH, it can be done. So I think 2 MVPs and maybe a Cy Young. Want to throw a Cy Young in there because then that means he's pitching and he's pitching well. So that goes in there, and then. He maybe even a stolen base title because he's so fast.
Can you imagine? That might be the
it's
craziest
possible.
one of all. It is.
It's possible.
It is.
I think for me, get an MVP.
2.
Get a Cy Young award.
3.
Think about what we're saying.
No,
I want the world.
No. I'm not going to go as far as where he's going. But what I'm saying is, have an MVP. With your bat, you're one of the most dangerous players in the league.
Maybe the.
Have a Cy Young that after your injury, you came back, and part of the reason why
2 Tommy Johns.
Part of the reason why you got the money that you did, put business to the side, even though I know you can't separate the 2, but because you do both, so you still have the ability to still be a great pitcher. Mm-hmm. And then I think the other thing that's probably the most important one, and we're talking about individual accolades and awards, have legendary moments, the right time. Have moments where you might not have to be at Dodger Stadium where everyone's just sitting there like, oh my gosh, Shohei did it again. Have moments when you're on the road and it's in San Francisco or it's a playoff series somewhere else, and Shohei, it's just everyone's marveling in his greatness. I think that to me is what stands out more than anything else.
I'm much closer to yours than I am to yours, Greg.
I'm going overboard.
I think for me, for the 5 years, we're not talking about 10 years. We're talking about the 5 years that start in a week. He needs to win an MVP or more, right? That 1 is good, but 2 is probably more the number over the next 5 years. He needs to return to being an effective major league pitcher. I don't think he needs to win the Cy Young because Think about what you're asking.
Such a tough. I know.
I don't expect him to win a Cy Young
There are
ever.
so many guys that all they do is pitch and never come within 100 miles of a Cy Young.
Might be Yamamoto.
Right? It might be Yamamoto. It could be, who knows? It could be Bobby Miller for all you know. You just don't know who it's going to be. But he does need to return to being a regular, high-quality major league pitcher. I don't know if he needs to strike out 300 guys or whatever, but he takes his turn every fifth day 20 times a year. That's what he needs to do for that. And
would you say for the Cy Young portion of it that he just needs to be in the conversation?
He needs to be a quasi
top 10 pitcher in Major League Baseball?
No, he doesn't have to be that. He needs to take his turn 20 or 25 times a year and give you a chance to win every time he goes out there. I think that, to your point, Greg, he's had 2 major arm surgeries. To ask anything beyond just return to being a quality major league player, I think is asking too much.
Can you give me a comp of a baseball player out there that you would
Joe
like
Musgrove.
to see him be? It's so funny. I was literally going to say Joe Musgrove.
Be Joe Musgrove.
Now Musgrove
Just
is
a solid,
really good
pitcher. Yeah.
Really good.
You can
But
win any game.
Is Joe Musgrove?
He can also get blasted.
Right, but nobody's saying
Not blasted. I think that's where you're leaning towards.
He can't be, Gavin Stone. He needs to be a guy that more often than not he's going to win. More often than not he's going to pitch you into the 6th inning, and he's going to make 20 or 25 starts a year.
And he's going to have a start where it's like he's dealing today.
I think that's the pitching component of what happens over the next 5 years.
fair.
And then I think the best point, Slee, is the one that you made, which is I need to have a couple of moments. Hey, remember when Shohei blank? What is that? Throw a no-hitter? Is that have a 3-home-run night with a walk-off? Is that go from first to home on a shallow double? Like a couple of those moments that you're like, I can't believe I just saw what I saw.
I think that's more likely. It's that you would expect that to happen a
But
couple
they-
times.
Or it could be a moment where, guys, they're in the playoffs and
The
they've
playoff
been
moment, I
in
think.
this situation and predicament, and he sparked something. You know how we keep talking about the Dodgers the last couple of years? There's nothing that has sparked that offense. That's nothing. We've said it before that if they get going, watch out, but nothing's got it going. If you have a moment where it's like Shohei sparked something that started whatever it was.
In 2020, we talk about Mookie Betts' base running and how he ran the bases so well. Those were his type of moments. You said, look at what he did on the base paths that got you wins in that series. So those types of things.
These are almost always postseason moments, but think about it. Hershiser had moments, right? Kirk Gibson had the ultimate moment. But you think of some other guys along the way. Fernando had a bunch of moments that weren't always in the World Series. You think about Steve Garvey had moments. Mike Piazza had moments that you remember that
Chris
weren't.
Taylor.
Yeah,
I mean,
Chris
there's-
Taylor.
I mean, there's-
Taylor,
There's
sure,
other
absolutely.
guys, yeah.
Sure, but I'm
catch
talking
and the
about
home runs.
not just in the postseason. I'm talking in the regular season as well, that they do things. Like I think of Kirk Gibson, and this is a stupid example. Kirk Gibson scored from second base on a wild pitch to win a game in a walk-off. From second base. Right, he came all the way around because he was just coming like a freight train and scored, and it was like, you got to be kidding me with this guy. Look at what he just did, and it was like a August game against the Expos. It meant nothing, but it was that dude's playing like it's the 7th game of the World Series in a mean-nothing game. Some of that kind of stuff, just that I can't even believe what I'm looking at. The easiest way to do it is in the postseason, but you can do it without the postseason. He's got to have a handful of those.
Yeah, I agree. I push back on a little bit on the regular season just because I don't care if he has none of those moments in the regular season. If he never has a moment in the regular season but shows out and has a bunch of those moments in the postseason, that's all I care about.
Factor Cap coming up next. It's Travis Lee, 710 ESPN.
All right, break.